suppose that's true. I wonder if that's something like that you get with age, because after playing this, I sat for a while and I thought, is there something I would want to change that I would, you know, rewrite my entire life for it? And that's a question I suppose people ask. I don't know.
Hmm. Yeah, I suppose. Mm, well, actually, there was a bit of a confusion, I think, on my part. Basically, about what happens to the previous memories, the actual real memories after
Mm-hmm.
the operation. Like, what I had in mind originally was that they would not be literally erased, but they would. Essentially, it's kind of like we're at the spoiler section, right?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Okay. So they're kind of like what happened to Joey's memories. I mean, his memories of Joey. They're like memories don't literally get erased, but they kind of get unlinked and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And like the consequence is actually a part of what happens when two sets of memories clash. So the first one doesn't really get erased, but it kind of gets pushed against. And I guess what they see in the last moment, however, is the new set of memories.
I could see that. What do you think the motivations for the doctors are at Sigmund Corp? Because you could look at it as though they're, just getting paid, or that they are actually, trying to do good. And you don't necessarily get that answer because, Rosalind's kind of always saying, it's not our business. And Dr. Waz is always saying, like, no, I'm really interested. What were you thinking, like, when you created them, and what was their motivation for doing this?
I don't know, it's really hard to say. I think, in some sense, I think they both do care a lot, but they show it in different ways. And it's with something like this that deals with so much moral obligation and so much even stuff like legal issues. It's kind of a weird combination. There's a lot goes into the formula. Like you have to worry about whether you're doing the right thing, quote unquote, whether or not this operation thing is the right thing to do to anyone to begin with,
Mm-hmm.
and the whole thing with like what if you know I don't know. There's just so much things to deal with. But yeah, in the end, I do think they both care a lot about the patients, but they just show it in different ways.
You can make some guesses about Dr. Watts, and I don't know if the characters are going to appear in other games, and we'll find out the answers to these, but I think everyone kind of draws their own conclusion. Like at the ending, my conclusion was that he was ill and taking medicine. Possibly he's also dying, and maybe that's why he's doing it too, because he knows someday he's going to have to make a choice if he wants to do that for himself. So you don't know those things, but I think you can read into it in different ways. People probably make their own decisions on how they think that's going to work out.
Yeah, I probably shouldn't say anything about that, right?
Agreed.
But I will say one thing though. There was a very embarrassing mistake that I don't even know how to retract. At I think most people probably didn't even notice it, but I was watching some let's play of it, and someone said, "Hey, look!" and I was like, "What?" Okay, so basically, at the very end, the launch scene, during the ending, the launch sequence, there's a flash to back to the bridge where Dr. Watts and Rosalind were standing at,
Mm-hmm.
and for a moment, you could see two Dr. Watts, you know, and just they're just standing one behind each other. And people were, saying, "Oh, that's the evidence that we are in a memory right now." But I mean, whether or not we really were in a memory, that was a mistake on my part. Like there weren't supposed to be two Dr. Watts.
Can't you just go, yes, that's exactly why there were two. It's cute when he tries to hold her hand. Anyway,
Rejected.
rejected. There's a lot of rejection in this for people that are trying to date. Hmm. Um, Talking about River a little, it's interesting that, as the story kind of unfolds and you learn more about River, you wonder, at the beginning why he didn't just ask, to be with her somehow and in his make her death not happen or something like that. Do you think that it is the memory block, sort of the unconscious kind of trying to fight it part of him that makes him want to say he wants to go to the moon instead of just directly asking, about River?
Yeah, he wasn't, well, at the time of making the wish, he really wasn't aware of, consciously aware of the whole meeting, the childhood, and the carnival scene. But yeah, what I wanted to show with the moon wish was that, subconsciously, that was like a metaphor for the fact that he still remembers those moments in some way, even though he doesn't, even though he can't consciously recall it.
Okay.
And there were some comments, I think, a while back about how, in the end, people were saying they shouldn't have actually gone to the moon because, it should be metaphorical. Like River never wanted to go to the, like Johnny didn't want to go to the moon. They just wanted to meet each other, But I think I was thinking that in itself is the metaphor, like actually going to the moon in the memories is the metaphor for actually finally being able to fulfill that wish. And yeah.
Okay. There's been a lot of speculation about River, and people say, oh, she had Alzheimer's, oh, she had, this and that. But my assumption is that it's autism because the foundation, the Autistic Foundation, gets a percentage from the game's sales. Can you definitively say that, or is that something you want to remain a mystery?
Yeah, there's actually a definitive answer, well, indirect definitive answer in the game. And that was, I think, in the doctor's memory, when they were about young adults. The doctor slipped them a book by Tony Atwood, who was, like, if you Google him, is essentially a leading researcher in Asperger's syndrome.
Okay.
So yeah, that would be the autism spectrum.
That makes sense. It's neat to hear, I think her name is Isabel, the other couple, talk about how she, lives with that and the way that she kind of pretends to be normal and how she admires River for just, daring to be herself. What do you think about that choice?
Yeah, it's a tough choice. I don't think it just applies to folks, on the spectrum. I mean, even myself, I have to decide between those sometimes, and I'm sure many other folks too. It's just how the society works nowadays. You can either be like, by being completely yourself, it's somewhat unsafe at times, even.
Do you think still that people will, judge you when they sort of seem to value the different now?
I don't know. Well, like, I tend to find, I mean, obviously, I think we tend to find it easier to be our true selves to folks who we are closer with, But I don't know. I guess it varies from person to person.
Okay. This game was nominated for Best Music, Most Memorable Moment, Best Writing Dialogue, Best Ending, and Song of the Year in GameSpot's Game of the Year award for 2011. So how did that feel?
That was, yeah, I was so grateful. I think that was when I wasn't on when, like, before the game. I mean, after the game released, so I still had no idea what to expect, and that was just kind of a slap in the face in a good way, whatever that feels like.
We love you, bam.
Yeah, and I mean, it's such an honor, and just to be able to work with so many talented folks to begin with. For example, like Laura Shigehara, who helped out so much with the game, and both in its music and the PR efforts and just pushing it out there. And the game really couldn't have made it, without them, without her, and just so many other talented folks who, kindly helped out.
What is the process like of getting a game onto Steam?
It was, let's see, I submitted it before the whole Steam Greenlight thing. And I think I submitted when the game was first released. And for a month, I think I didn't get a reply. And then after that month, I kind of went all out and I just drafted a new application form, was just like spamming it with like positive reviews and just, I think at the time, because Steam uses Metacritic, And at the time, I think the game was still fortunate enough to be at I think exactly 90% at Metacritic. So I put that like on top of it, and I think that really helped out a lot because I think because they just get so you can't blame them, because they get so much submissions every single day, and it's just really hard to filter out. So after that, I think they actually responded the next day,
Oh,
and then
great.
it took another year for it to get on there, but that was mostly my fault.
Do you think that's really affected things? I mean, Steam is an excellent platform if you want to get something easily.
Yeah, it's like as an indie developer, especially a relatively new one, um, it's not something that's you can't count on getting on there 100%. So I kind of treated it like icing on the cake, but in this case, like the icing is actually bigger than the cake itself. So
That's how you should have a cake. All right. The music boxes appear a couple times in the game. I guess to give alternatives to just having him, play on the piano and things like that. How did you decide to turn that, idea into an actual music box?
like an actual music box in real life.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, well, I don't know. It's music box. I'm just so fascinated by music boxes. It's like I think every single one of my games so far has a music box in it. That's relatively a bit of a centerpiece. Yeah, it's just one of those ongoing themes. And I was like, what should I get for this game? Oh, I know.
A music box. I so regret not
A
buying
plush.
one. I do.
Yeah, we also tried to make some toy platypus.
Yes.
What's the plural for that? Like
Platypi?
I don't know. It's
I think it's
but
also platypus, but I'd like to say platypi. It sounds
yeah,
better.
yeah, and but yeah, that kind of fell through because like they were sending us samples, and they were like, we want a brown platypus that looks like this, and I had Gabriella, who's the artist who drew the platypus and all the memento pictures, to draw like a front side 90 degrees angle version of the platypus to send to them. And they sent us a sample. We gave them some suggestions. They sent us back a sample, and all through this time, like they just couldn't get the color right. It's like first they sent us a white one, and then they sent us like I don't even. It's like they were getting, but I don't know. In the end, they required like an order of 10,000 or something minimum, and we were like, oh wait, about that. But yeah, so that kind of fell through. But fortunately, there's still music boxes, and you can still find platypus, in Australia, and toys everywhere.
I wasn't sure if it was a platypus or if you were going for like a Psyduck reference.
Yeah,
Sure.
as much as I really like Psyduck, and who doesn't, it was it was an authentic Australian platypus.
Very nice. Okay, so I have seen you speak at MagFest, and I believe this is the second year that you did have a panel. What's your affiliation with that, and what keeps you coming back to speak at conventions?
Oh, actually, I that was my first year in MagFest,
Was
and
it?
yeah, that was, and that was the first panel of that kind I've ever done,
Really?
which was yeah.
That was good.
Thanks. I really like that. I was able to. They got me a keyboard to play some songs on it. I think I enjoyed that the most, a lot
You
more
would
than
speak
actually
for like
talking.
20 minutes and let me play you a song.
Yeah.
I did record that, and I may put it up on the site for listeners who want to see.
Thanks.
Let's see. Is that the things I wanted to ask you? Music for this game. I think I might actually like more than the game, which is saying something. What is your favorite song from the score? And yeah, what's your favorite song?
Favorite song? Well, I'm not sure if this is a cliche choice, but probably definitely Everything's Alright.
Okay.
It's it's just it just conveyed everything I wanted for that scene, and that song is all Laura, and like I just showed her the scene before the song, I think, and I wasn't even I don't think I even was able to say much as for what I wanted her to do, like to write to fit like what kind of